I took one more breath and my entire body it rose up, and it felt like I was floating 2 or 3 feet above my body. And I thought to myself, I should probably say something. And with that, I was no longer in my body. I was in the ceiling looking down at my body. And I thought to myself, what am I doing up here? Now, on the surface, this seems like a really logical question to ask. But think about the implications of that statement. I'm not in my body, but I am this other part of myself that I'm completely aware that I identify with. And I'm up there saying, why am I up here? Meaning I didn't identify with the body below at all. What I identified with who I really was and am was this part of me that was in the ceiling, looking down at my physical body. Now, all the anxiety that I was experiencing as I was going through this uncomfortable and unusual rising and falling, that was gone. And actually, I could probably have cared less about the body down there. I knew it was mine, and I could identify that it was a physical body, but I had no connection to it whatsoever. And my next thought was, am I dead? And with those two thoughts combined, I flipped upside down, and I am now staring inches from the ceiling tiles. I had this awe about the dust and the cracks in the ceiling tiles. They were miraculous. They were beautiful. They were just something that I felt like I could have sat and stared at for hours. It was like a little kid in Disneyland. You wouldn't think something so mundane would be something so beautiful. But reflecting back on it, the reason it was so beautiful was because I was looking at it through the eyes of my soul. I like to say I had my eyes closed, or an aperture came down, and I was gone. I was no longer in the dentist office. When I opened my eyes, I was in this buttery, warm, rich, cozy, blissful, complete place that paradoxically was also dark and what I call the void. I call it the void because when I opened my eyes, I was in absolute darkness. I didn't have any points of light around me. I couldn't see anything that I could distinguish. But it wasn't anything that you would think of as being scary or uncomfortable. It was bliss. It was like being home. It was like this awareness and this knowing that I'm connected to this oneness, this bliss, this completeness. And I'm as much a part of it as it is a part of me. And there is no separating it. That love, that thing that is so hard to describe. Even the most beautiful experiences that we have here in our physical bodies, the birth of a child, falling in love, these are incredibly loving experiences. Even that pales in comparison to the completeness of the unconditional love that you experience on the other side. There was no thought process. When you experience it, it becomes a part of you. It becomes a knowing. And so I call this place the oneness because it was really clear to me in this place that it represented every single soul that had ever and will ever exist, and that in this place, all experiences of every soul were absolutely accessible. I try to find the analogy to explain just the vastness of this place. Imagine every single experience that every single soul on planet Earth has ever had and will ever have. So right now we have 8 billion people on this planet, but there's been people before us and there will be people after us. Imagine all of those experiences, all those collective experiences, decades of experiences, of all of those souls. And imagine all of them were to reside on one grain of sand. And then imagine all of the grains of sand on just this planet alone. And all those other grains of sand represent all the experiences that the soul has outside of their experience here on Earth. That just begins to scrape the surface of how vast this place of oneness and completeness was. It was as if I was expanding into it. I was having this connection to all of these experiences of all of these souls on Earth and otherwise. And I was a part of it. And all of those experiences were a part of me. And because there's no time, there isn't a past or a present. There just was. There was just that moment where all of those experiences were available completely and totally. What I couldn't do was form a question. All I could do was be curious. I found myself expanding into this completeness, expanding into this oneness, and becoming a part of it more and more. And as I was being curious about something and I was bringing it back, I found myself being more and more curious. I wanted to know more and more. And what I've been able to discover now that I'm back is that the infinite knowing isn't something I could bring back into this physical life. There's aspects of it that I brought back that were very clear that I could hold on to, but there's other pieces of it that I feel like is going to take my entire life to process and to connect to and understand. I was in this place of absolute beauty and love and connection. I didn't have any desire to come back. There was really no awareness of my physical life while I was there. As I'm expanding into this oneness, I am suddenly snapped back into my body.